Hello, and welcome to Ghostly Gossip, the podcast where we discuss all things paranormal and our experiences with them. My name is Derry, and I run a group called Devon and Cornwall Paranormal Investigators, or D.C.P.I. Just as a warning, the podcast may include swearing. Today we're speaking with Dan, who is just a wonderful asset to the D.C.P.I. team, and honestly, without him, hunts wouldn't be anywhere near as fun. So Dan, how did you get into the paranormal world?
It started when I was younger. I must have been about 6 or 7, and I remember that my nan's mum had cancer in the eye bone, and she had to have part of her face cut away. So she went to live with my nan and granddad, and I used to go to my nan and granddad's house every Thursday and Friday after school because my mum worked and my dad worked. And then after about 6 months of her living there, she passed away. And no one had told me that she had passed away. And it was about 6 months after that she passed away that I could see her in the bed where she used to sleep. And one day she was giving me messages to go downstairs and tell my nan.
Right.
And I went downstairs to tell my nan what I used to call her Big Nanny. I've got a cross on my arm tattooed with Big Nanny across it. And she was giving me messages that there's no way on earth I would have known. So my nan's real name is Jane. My nan's mum's name was Jane. They had the same name. But so my nan changed her name to Jean. So I always knew her as Nanny Jean. And then it wasn't until when I saw her in the bed after she had passed away that she said, "Now I'm not here anymore. Can you please go down and tell your nan that she has to go back to using her real name of Jane?"
Oh, wow.
So that's where it started for me. And then apparently before that, I don't remember. That's what I remember. But before that, I used to always say to my mum and dad when we lived in our old, "Who's that man that keeps coming in my bedroom at night?" And my mum and dad used to say, "Oh, you're dreaming. But it was never a dream because I've got ADHD. And I've always struggled with falling asleep.
Yeah.
So I used to see this man always walk into the bedroom, but he used to walk through the door. But my mum and dad always put that down to that I was either asleep or because I didn't sleep, that I was seeing things.
Yeah.
But when I put 2 and 2 together, I was definitely seeing someone walking around the house that I grew up in. And then once that I started seeing the things with my nan, it continued, and I still see her occasionally.
Oh, wow, really?
So if I'm having like a bad week at work or I'm stressed about something, she always comes to see me and always tells me that everything's going to work out. Don't panic.
Oh, that's so amazing.
And it's not even just that. Like a couple of weeks ago, I was on a wrap job, and when I went into the customer's house, she's recently bought the house, and I said to her, "Well, who's smoking?" And she was like, "Well, I don't smoke, and I'm the only one that lives there." I said, "I can smell roll-ups." And then when I went into the kitchen, I just got the name Georgina into my head, and I said, "Did an old lady used to live here called Georgina?" And she went, "Yeah, she passed away in the house." She was like, "How do you know?" I said, I'm telling you now, she's having a fag in the kitchen." And she was like, "Now you say that," she was like, "When I moved in, there was on the side in the kitchen unit, a pouch of roll-ups."
Oh, that's amazing.
It's really weird. Like, occasionally, I'll be at home and all of a sudden you just get a cold shiver and you just know that there's something lurking around. Because where my mum and dad live, the houses that were built on the old. Have you ever heard of St. Bernard's?
No, I don't think so.
So St. Bernard's was an old mental hospital.
Oh, okay, yeah.
In sort of like Hamwell, Southall area. And where my mum and dad live, it's on the grounds. And when they was building the houses, the building had to be stopped because they found burial sites all around where the houses are.
Yeah.
So that's what really got me into ghost hunting, because when you witness something like that from a young age, it sort of sticks with you.
Absolutely. I'm the same.
So from there, obviously, I got a bit more involved in ghost hunting when I started going on different ghost hunts. And then I started going with a company, and then I met Roz and Pete and Laura. And then I feel like I've got a bit more deeper involved in it since meeting them. Like I've got REM pods, catwalls, all different types of equipment now that I've bought. And it's fascinating because where you go to these places, you just never know what to expect.
Yeah.
And I love like that adrenaline rush of, well, what's going to happen?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes you go on a night out and it's not as eventful, but sometimes you go and there's so much things going on that you just can't explain.
Yeah, and those are the nights we look for, aren't they?
No ghost hunt is ever the same, is it?
No, never. Even in the same place, it's never the same.
No way. You could go back to the same place 10 times, and each 10 times something different happens.
Yep, I totally have. I used to go to St Nicholas Priory a lot. I've probably done that about 10 times. And yeah, every night was different. It was amazing.
And that's what I like. There's something about the fact that of the unknown that intrigues me.
Draws you in, doesn't it?
It really does.
So, talking about places and like where you've investigated, what's been your favourite place to investigate?
Cemeteries.
Okay, controversial.
There's something about going to a cemetery at night time that is different to anywhere else I've ever been.
Okay.
And it doesn't matter what cemetery it is. If you walk into a cemetery at night time, something happens at night in a cemetery.
Just feels different for you.
It feels so different. No matter what one you go to, some are worse than others.
There's so interesting.
There's a cemetery in Heston, near where my mum and dad live. And I've been there before, and it is not a nice place at night time. You can walk around in the daytime, and it feels safe as houses. You go there at night, I'm telling you now, there is a feeling in there that you get that just comes over you.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily scare you, but you just know that there's something there watching you.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, thinking about it now, like when we go to Holy Trinity, so thinking about it now, Holy Trinity is very much like that for me. Like when we go, it doesn't necessarily feel heavy or anything when we get there, but at certain points in the night, you will feel the change of a different spirit entering the area, and you'll feel that sudden change, and you're like, oh, okay, he's here, kind of thing.
Yeah. A couple of months ago, we went on a hunt at night time in a cemetery in Portsmouth, and Laura had a SLS on her phone.
Yeah.
And there was the shape of a person stood by a grave, and it looked like the man was kicking the grave. And every time the catwall went out and the man kicked his leg that you could see on the camera, the catwall would turn on again.
Oh, wow.
And start flashing.
That's amazing.
It was a good night. Nothing major happened on the night, but when you're watching a figure on the SLS camera kicking, and in the same place that the shape was kicking, the catwall was then turning on. How do you explain that?
Yeah,
that's paranormal.
That's crazy, isn't it? And what a wonderful collaboration of evidence, because you've got a kicking happening on an SLS that you're witnessing, and then a physical bit of kit going off.
Of course.
Amazing.
And we also had another bit of equipment that was going. I can't remember what it was that was going off. EMF. There was an EMF on top of it, and the EMF was spiking.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's awesome to have all three things happening kind of in correspondence to each other.
Exactly. Oh, and then we also had on that night when we was walking around, there was a gravestone of a little girl, and the little girl was 2 years and 6 months old when she passed away. And I was getting hits on an app on my phone, and it was saying the little girl's name, and it was saying that she wants to communicate with you. And when I turned around, I was stood literally less than 3 foot away from her grave, and it was the exact same name that was coming through.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
It really was. That's why I love going to a cemetery, because it's just a different weld in the cemetery.
Well, you couldn't get more people in one place, could you, really, spirit-wise?
Definitely not, no. They're all just there.
There and ready to chat, hopefully.
Yes.
Only the nice ones, though.
I've never encountered anything sinister at a graveyard.
Well, you should come on down to Holy Trinity. I
would love to.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a hunt we'll need to arrange for you. It's just so far for some of you guys, you know?
Yeah. Especially, I'm originally from London, so I travel up to Portsmouth, and then I meet people in Portsmouth, and then we travel up to, like the other week when we travelled up to Devon.
Yeah.
So it does add a few hours onto the journey, being this part of the world.
Absolutely.
But the drive is always worth it.
Yeah, Holy Trinity is definitely one that we'll have to do with all you guys at some point, because I feel like I've done
definitely.
it. I feel like I've done it like a million times, but there's still so much mystery around it for me. It doesn't ever feel like it's done. Do you know what I mean?
No. And I feel like that on most ghost hunts, though, that no matter when you go, how many times you go back, like we said earlier, there's always something different that happens.
Yeah, I think you just go to some places and you've just got a continuous draw to them.
Of course.
Like a calling, like that's somewhere I have to go back to. And Holy Trinity is like that for me, no matter how many times I go back.
Yeah.
It's always the place I'm like, let's go again.
I'm looking forward. We've got a hunt on Saturday in the woods. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, I did read about this in the chat that you guys are off to the woods. I'm gutted I can't go. I'm at a car thing in Goodwood.
Okay.
But I'm looking forward to whatever I get from that to analyse and put into videos and stuff. That'd be really cool to hear your experiences when you're back from there.
Yeah.
So, what's the scariest place you've visited?
I would say the scariest place I've ever been to is the Heston Cemetery.
Yeah?
There's something very odd about that place. I can never explain what it is. There's just something that when you walk into there, I would love to know what it is, but there's something that just instantly makes you think there's something that doesn't want me in here. But it's only ever at night time that you get that feeling. And it's an old cemetery. You can barely read any of the names on it. They've all worn away. And for me, that's probably the scariest place I've been.
Do you think it's more of a scary place because it seems to have that feeling for you, or because of things that have happened there?
It might be because I know a couple of other people that do ghost hunting there, and they had to run out of there one night because something. I can't explain what happened, but the REM pod tipped over, and they just heard this evil noise, and they ran out of there. And these are people that have been doing ghost hunts for years, and they go to some places and they don't ever get scared. But because they got scared of that place, and I've known them for so many years, I think it put a little thing inside me like, well, what is it then that actually made them get scared?
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
If they got scared of that, then something must have happened for them to have left, because they don't ever leave anywhere.
Yeah, it kind of builds that even more, doesn't it? It builds the fear, I suppose, but it also builds the want to know and experience it.
Yeah.
So on the subject of scary places and people running away, what's the creepiest thing that's happened to you or that you've witnessed, would you say?
The creepiest thing that I've witnessed is that night when we was at Purbrook and the bit of wood went flying towards Pete.
Okay, so you were there for that as well, I see.
I was there for that because probably about less than 5 minutes before that happened, I was standing with my back towards the door where the wood fell down near Pete, and my hat was completely slapped off of the top of my head.
Oh, wow.
And there was no one next to me either side, but my hat was hit off of my head.
So 2 really physical experiences in the same place in like under 10 minutes.
100%. And another one when I was with Pete, we was at the Bellsden Brickworks.
Yeah.
And we was in a human pendulum, so I had hold of Pete's hand and I had hold of my girlfriend's hand. and something scratched me from the bottom. I had combat trousers on, and something scratched me from the bottom of my arse down to the bottom, to the top of my knee, right down the back of my calf. And when we finished, I said to Pete, something's just scratched me, and he was laughing. He was like, "Shut up." I was like, "Pete, I'm being serious. Something's just scratched me," but we couldn't let go because we was in the middle of a human pendulum.
Yeah.
So once that had stopped, I pulled Pete to the side and I pulled my trousers down. I said, "Shine a light on the back of my leg," and there was 3 scratch marks down the back of my legs.
Ooh.
They wasn't deep, but they was deep enough to you could see the red line.
Yeah, absolutely.
It didn't quite draw blood, but it wasn't far from drawing blood.
Oh god, yeah, that's pretty creepy. I wouldn't be happy with that.
No.
I'd be like, yeah, I'm gone. See you
not.
later. Have a nice night.
And that was literally at the start of the night. We was probably about half hour into the evening when that happened.
Oh yeah, no, there's a boundary for me. Like, just don't touch me. Like, crack on, do what you want to do, make noise, play with all the equipment. I draw the line at touching me, you know?
Yep.
I just can't.
No, it's not for everyone.
No. It's like when people say, like, oh, touch me, touch someone in the room. I'm like, no.
No. But we had a great night at that Bowls and Brickworks. We had the glass work that we had going on was from the way the glass was flying across the table. And we all had our nails on top of the glass. It wasn't even our fingers. And the glass was just sliding across the table to every question we asked it.
Well, that's amazing. Sounds like a very, very powerful spirit that you guys, or more than one,
100%.
that you guys were interacting with, to be able to, you know, physically leave marks and to be moving the glass in such a manner.
Yes.
That sounds like a great place.
It really was eye-opening, even down to the fact that the way that the glass, we were split into 2 groups, and one of the people that was hosting the event came and saw the way that the glass was moving. They then stopped the other group's glass work and brought the other group over to witness what was going on our table.
Wow. That's amazing.
And we didn't even stop for the break because the glass work was so active that me and Pete decided that we was going to continue through the break just so we didn't lose touch with that spirit that was activating the glass to move.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I'm the same on hunts. Like, if it's active and you're getting what you all went for, really, I'd rather just stay and carry on doing it. And
of course,
you know, when they're done talking, that's when I'll take a break. You know, but I think it's a respect thing as well. Like that, you know, that spirit's using a lot of energy to do what it's doing and to communicate with you, and you might be the only person they've communicated with in 100 years. To be like, sorry, I need to go and have me cup of tea now. I don't know, it doesn't sit right with me.
I wouldn't leave it. There was no way that we was leaving that.
Yeah, it's like when you get somebody come through that doesn't know they've passed or is kind of stuck. Like, I can never just leave that situation. I have to try and resolve it for that person.
Oh, of course.
It's strange though, isn't it, that we feel like these attachments to things that literally aren't there, really. But we know they are there.
Of course.
Okay, so we've talked about your favourite place and your scariest place. What are your top 5 places that you'd love to go to?
I want to go to that Bronny Garth.
Yep.
I would like to go to the Holy Trinity.
Yep. Amazing choices so far.
I'm looking forward to the hunt we've got coming up on the weekend at the woods. That looks very interesting. Oakhampton Castle, I love that place when we went there a couple of weeks ago. That was amazing.
Yeah.
I would also like to go back to that Heston Cemetery, but with a bigger group of people.
Okay, yeah.
How many's that? Have we done 4?
That's 5. You've like quickest
5.
person ever. What I like as well is you've not gone for any of the, what I'd say, typical places. Like, most of the time I kind of get like 30 East Drive, asylums, big cemetery, you know, not cemetery, sorry, like big Newsham, things like that, Chillingham Castle. I like the fact that you've gone for all ones where you've heard people's personal experiences, and that's what's made you want to go.
Of course.
more than ticking a box of a famous place. I really, really appreciate that in you, actually.
That's fine, because if someone tells you there's a good place to go and eat, you would go and try it.
Yeah.
Why does it differ from ghost hunts? If someone says to you, "Dad, I went to this place and it was amazing, you should try it," why would you not try it? Why would you go for, this place because it's got a name? I would rather go to somewhere that doesn't have a name, that I know people have been there and they've had an amazing experience.
You know, I like that. I think that's a rare viewpoint to have, but I do really appreciate that viewpoint. And I'm totally with you. Like, you know, if anyone's read the website, they'll see that the place I'd love to investigate the most is actually my childhood home, which is just a normal house on a terrace street. That is where I'd love to be investigating. And again, it's because of that personal experience, it's because of that personal link, rather than it's got a name, it's famous, it's had 4 movies named after it or whatever.
Yeah. Why would you want to just go completely on the route of this place is all over a website because it's known for ghost hunting, when you could go to somewhere that no one really knows about and have an amazing night and think, well, hardly anyone's ever been here because not many people know about it.
Yeah, that is one of the things I love, is I love investigating the places that nobody's investigated. Like when we did the Minerva, obviously I know it had been done before, but not quite to the extent we've done it.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's not a massive, you know, we don't have like 50 people trying to buy tickets. I like the fact that it's a really small group. I like the fact that it's quite a small place, although obviously we have now got access to the top floors, which we never had before.
Yeah.
But I like finding those places that nobody's been. Like for me, they're kind of, I suppose, it's not like the spirits are better, but it's that I suppose it's that untouched ground, isn't it? It's like I'm the first to be experiencing anything here in this sense. And I do love finding those weird little places.
Yeah.
I mean, we did a hunt at a place called the Sandygate Inn, and it's literally just because we know the owner and they were like, yeah, cool, like, come on in, like, we'll just leave the pub open, like, crack on. And it wasn't the most active of nights, but, you know, there was bits going on, and I think I enjoyed it more because we were the first to be chatting and doing all of that, you know?
Yeah, that's what I like. I like things like that. I would much rather go somewhere that no one really knows about, and you're one of the first people there, than go to somewhere that's been done loads of times, and then people will say, "Oh, well, you copying the same thing that he said."
Yeah, I mean, it's good in terms of evidence because there's consistency across the board, but, you know, especially, and I think the power of like influence massively affects some of these major places. Like, you know, people will tell you, you know, there is a specific monk, you know, at this place, or there is this particular bad spirit that comes out, and you already go in and you'll find that you're directing your questions or your Ouija board or whatever to those particular people. And I think sometimes it shuts you off from all the other things that might be happening because you're looking for that one particular thing rather than going in with an open mind.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. No, I do like doing things like that more.
Yes.
If everyone with houses that are haunted could just message and we'll just go to all of those, that'd be great.
Oh, of course. It'd be amazing.
Okay, is there anywhere you wouldn't ever investigate?
There's nowhere I wouldn't go. I love the feeling of going somewhere with the group that we've got. There's so many different people in that group, and do you know what? I would go anywhere where they're going.
Oh, that is lovely.
Because it's such a friendly group. You've got the people that like to wind each other up, like me and Pete. We constantly wind people up in the group, and everyone takes it as a laugh. But when we go out and we're on a hunt, it's like we turn our jokey heads off and we become a bit more serious. And with Roz, I love Roz to bits. I would go, if she said to me, "Dad, we're doing this," I'd say, "Yeah, no problem, I'm coming."
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have built a really cool team of different people with very different skills, because obviously we've got some people in our team that are quite spiritual, quite kind of like, you know, maybe don't like to get involved and are more kind of observers. We've got some quite scientific-y people. You know, I think we have such an awesome group of people that interact really well.
100%.
And you're right, when we do get on site, I think this is one of the reasons I like to do the podcast with you guys as well, because as I said when I did the podcast with Roz, when you're on a hunt, you're purely focused on the hunt. There's no kind of, yeah, there's banter and jokes or whatever, but there's no like sitting down and having a deep conversation about why you got into this and getting to know people on that kind of level, because you're focused on the hunt and why you're there. And that's one of the reasons I like to this, because it means I get to know everybody so much better.
Of course.
By having these chats, and it's really nice.
It is.
I mean, sometimes I do have to tell Roz off and tell her to put a serious head on. Especially when something scary's happening and she's winding them up and I'm there like, no, I'm scared. Stop. Okay, so you would go anywhere. That is... Yeah, I would say I was the same until I went to Oki, and then I was like, yeah, I'm done with that place. That's one place I won't be going back to.
No, I would love to go back there.
Yeah, it was such a strange experience when we went.
We pulled ourselves off in like 2 groups when we was at Oakhampton, and it was me, Pete's son, and my girlfriend. We was in a group, and all of a sudden a stone come flying along the floor, and then a few seconds later another stone, and then it stopped, and then a couple of minutes later another stone happened, but it was just us 4 stood there. So where the stone was coming across the floor from the corner of the room, and there was no one there.
Oh God! So they're throwing rocks at us now. Brilliant, excellent.
Yep.
Even more reason not to go, if you ask me, Dan.
Oh, there's even more reason to go for me.
Well, I hope you enjoy yourself as much as you did when you go again. I will read the write-up and put it on the website and have a great time just being a reader as opposed to a participant in that one.
Yes.
Okay, so when you're on a hunt, obviously you said you've bought loads of equipment, which is, it's so cool. It is like that, isn't it? It's like a black hole. As soon as you start, you just get more and more sucked into this world, I think, which is...
You certainly do.
Great. What's your favourite piece of equipment and why? Not necessarily that you own, but that you've used or would like to use, whatever.
So I've got an app on my phone called the Necrometer.
Okay.
And I use that, and some of the words and sentences that come through on that is unbelievable.
Really?
It is really good. Like, for instance, when a couple of weeks ago when we was in Portsmouth and the little girl's name kept coming through.
Yeah.
And it kept saying that she would like to talk to me. And then when I turned around, I was less than 3 foot away from her grave. How was the phone able to pick up the name on that grave with the exact same spelling? It's an impossibility.
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I very much, like, when I started in Paranormal Worlds and people started using these apps, I was very, very sceptical. Like, it's not something that, I don't know, I can have 100% faith in. But the more I'm doing this podcast and I'm hearing about people's experiences with some of these apps, it is starting to be a bit like, okay, there could be something in this. Because I suppose it's the same as anything, really. When something happens so many times, you can't blame it on coincidence then, you know?
No, it's like, the only reason I use this app is because one of my friends that does ghost hunting, he uses it. And he was on a hunt in a cemetery, and it was an old comedian. And when he was on the hunt, because the comedian had committed suicide, he wasn't allowed to be buried with his mum in the cemetery. But what they did do is put his ashes and a plaque in a wall on the boundary of the cemetery.
Okay.
And when they was on the hunt, on the app that I use, a sentence that the man had written in his suicide note came through on the app, word for word.
Oh wow! Okay.
And there's photographs of the suicide note and there's photographs of the app, and it is literally word for word what was a sentence that was in the suicide note. That's what made me download the app, because how is the app going to predict that sentence from nothing? You can't input words into the app.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I did use it on my own. I was actually at Margam Castle, and it wasn't on a hunt. I was there as a visitor. I'd just done a tour of the castle, like a private tour, and I do love that place. I have such an affinity for that castle, and the people that work in it are just the most incredible people. But I was just wandering around some of the ruins, so outside of the castle. I was using an app because I was like, well, I've got nothing else with me. Like, what, I'll just have it on, see if anything comes up. And it started coming up with words like monk and things like that. But for me, those are very typical haunting type words. Because there's a monk everywhere, isn't there? Do you know what I mean?
Of course there is. No matter where you go, there's a monk.
I know, but I entered this one particular ruin, and it wasn't mapped out. I didn't really know what I was walking in as such, and it kept saying about infirmary and hospital and illness, and I was like, well, these are all pretty typical as well. And I went back up to the castle and carried on chatting to the tour guide that had taken us round. And he was like, I said, like, I described where I was and was like, what is that bit of ruin? Because it's literally just like a quarter of a wall left. And he was like, oh, it was the hospital.
Oh, bloody hell.
And I was like, oh, right. He was like, yeah, it was the infirmary. It's where they would have, mainly people with like influenza and catchable things were put in there to be away from everyone else. And I was like, well, that's interesting because I've been walking around with it on for about an hour and hadn't got anything about hospitals, anything about infirmaries or illness until I went in there.
Okay.
And at that point, I was like, oh, okay, that is interesting. That's piqued my interest a little bit. Maybe that definitely is something I'll have to use a little bit more, maybe, and see how I feel.
Because it depends on what the necrometer that I use. You have to pay for. It's like a one-time payment. I think it's like £10 or £11. But what you get out of that app is unbelievable. It stores your chats for you as well, and it labels the dates of when you recorded them. It really does. Every hunt I go on, I use it, and there's things that come through that correlate to where you are. And I always turn my phone on airplane mode, one, so it doesn't interfere with any other equipment.
Yeah.
And two, I turn my phone on airplane mode before I get to where I'm going. So my phone, so I know that the phone isn't picking up a location.
That's clever. That's a good point, actually, because, I suppose it could, especially with AI and things these days, be picking up your location and then generating words that have been associated on web pages or stories or whatever. So I suppose by doing that, you're negating that variable, aren't you, from the experiment as such?
Yeah.
Oh, I think you've persuaded me, Dan.
It annoys people that are trying to get hold of me because my phone's on airplane mode for a lot longer than what it needs to be. But if it's on airplane mode, it's not picking up a location, so it can't pinpoint where I am.
Yeah, I think you've turned me, Dan. I think I'm going to have to give it a go.
I promise you won't regret it.
Okay. Yeah, I think I'm going to have to give it a go. Yeah, maybe I'll just have it out kind of when I'm chilling somewhere and see, especially if things come through that are relevant to me as well. Because that'll be the seller for me. If something comes through for me, I think that'll definitely be the icing on the cake, shall we say.
Yep.
Okay, so what is your goal, your overall goal in hunting the paranormal, investigating?
Just to get as much proof as possible that things do exist. Because there's so many people that disbelieve what we do.
Yeah.
And when you've got evidence like what we find, it makes me laugh that people say, well, there's no such thing as ghosts. Of course there is. If there wasn't such thing as ghosts, then why would things like this be happening?
Yeah, absolutely. It is about gaining that evidence base.
Things, isn't it?
Yeah.
No matter what you do in life, people are going to disbelieve.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
You're never going to turn everyone's heads to be a believer. But what makes me laugh is the people that don't believe will never go on a ghost hunt because they say, no, what if something happens? But you don't believe.
Yeah.
So if you don't believe, how is anything going to happen?
Yeah, it's a funny one, isn't it? I mean, I did a podcast with a lone investigator, and he said, like, when I asked about does he 100% believe in spirits, he was a bit like, well, I don't think I could 100% believe, because I think if I did, I couldn't go to the places.
Yeah.
He was like, so I think there's got to be something in me that I go and I think, oh no, nothing's going to happen because it's not real, and then it happens. He was like, and it's like I forget about that and then do the same thing again, which I thought was quite an interesting concept, because if we did genuinely believe there was evil things that could hurt us, would we go?
I would.
You'd be like, come on, bring it on, mate.
Yeah, 100%.
So on that, do you 100% believe in spirits?
Oh, 100%. There's, like I was saying earlier in the podcast, if spirits didn't exist, how was my nan's mum giving me this information to give to my nan after she had been dead for about 6 months?
Yeah, and especially as a child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I 100% believe in spirits and ghosts.
Amazing. Well, it has been lovely to chat to you.
And you.
And hopefully we'll get you on another podcast soon to chat about some other bits and bobs.
Yes.
So thanks so much for coming on the show, Dan. It's been great to have you. And thanks for listening, everyone. And you'll hear from us again soon. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
We hope you've enjoyed listening to the Ghostly Gossip podcast. If you would like to follow what we do and where we go as a team, or even join us at an investigation, you can search for Devon and Cornwall Paranormal Investigators on all social media platforms and Google. If you don't want to miss an episode, please like and subscribe. We would really appreciate your support.